Your teacher lied to you. Look at your old textbooks. They are not tools. They are tombstones. Your teacher lied to you. They taught you to prioritize perfection over power. They turned a living language into a cold autopsy. You are not bad at English. You are a victim of a system designed to keep you silent. Wake up. The 1% are speaking. Close your eyes and remember your first English class. The smell of the chalk. The cold, white pages of the workbook. The teacher standing at the front, drawing a formula on the board like they were solving a physics problem. Subject plus verb plus object. Present perfect. Past participle. Do you remember the fear? The fear of the red pen? That moment was the birth of your prison. Your teacher did not give you a gift. They gave you a lobotomy. They took a living, breathing, visceral language and turned it into a cold autopsy on a metal table. They lied to you. They told you that if you mastered the rules, you would master the world. But look at you now. You know the rules, yet you are silent. You are a linguistic victim. And today, we are going to burn those textbooks to provide the light for your escape. The 99% are obsessed with being correct. They are martyrs for a God that doesn't exist. They believe that English is a puzzle to be solved, a code to be cracked. They spend their lives polishing their grammar until it shines, but they never actually use the tool to build anything. They are like soldiers who spend 40 years cleaning their rifle, but are terrified to fire a single shot. This is grammar castration. The system has stripped you of your natural instinct to communicate. It has replaced your silent power with neural paralysis. Every time you want to speak, your brain pauses to check a rule. That pause is where your fluency goes to die. That pause is the desert sand filling your mouth. In the Oasis, we don't care about the formula. We care about the fire. I promise you a paradigm shift that will shatter your reality. English is not a science. It is a sport. It is a dance. It is a fight. Does a boxer think about the angle of their elbow when they are throwing a knockout punch? No. If they did, they would be unconscious before they finished the thought. They rely on instinctive power. The 1% have realized that the human brain was never designed to process language through analytical rules. We were designed to absorb rhythm, to mimic emotion, and to survive through connection. Your teacher taught you how to be a scholar of dead words. I am here to turn you into a warrior of living speech. This is the move from the brain to the mouth, from the rules to the muscles. Why are you stuck? Let's look at the perfection trap. Your brain has been conditioned to associate a grammar mistake with failure. But in the real world, the world of the 1%, a mistake is just data. It is a sign of life. The 1% are proudly broken. They understand that a person who speaks 80% incorrect English with 100% confidence will dominate any room. They will close the deal. They will lead the team. They will win the heart. Why? Because humans don't connect with grammar. They connect with energy. Your perfect grammar is a wall. It is stiff. It is robotic. It smells like fear. People don't want to talk to a textbook. They want to talk to a human being. Your teacher lied when they said grammar is the foundation. No. Vulnerability is the foundation. Presence is the foundation. The 1% have performed a neurological coup d'état. They have moved English from their prefrontal cortex, the part that overanalyzes, to their amygdala and their motor cortex. They have made it a reflex. How? By embracing the ugly phase. They are willing to sound like a child for a year so they can sound like a legend for a decade. They don't study grammar. They absorb it through mass immersion and raw output. They understand that grammar is a consequence of communication, not a prerequisite for it. You didn't learn your native language by studying a book. You learned it by needing to survive. You learned it by being wrong 1,000 times until your brain found the right rhythm. Why did you let them convince you that English was any different? Look at your inner critic. It is the voice of your teacher, still sitting in the back of your head with a red pen, waiting for you to fail. This is the ghost in the machine. It makes your heart race. It makes your throat tighten. It makes you say, "I'm not ready yet." Let me tell you something. You will never be ready. Perfection is a moving target designed to keep you a slave to the desert. The 1% have killed their inner critic in a public execution. They have replaced it with strategic arrogance. They have decided that what they have to say is more important than how correctly they say it. They have traded their face for their future. The 1% oasis is a sanctuary for the proudly imperfect. It is a place where we prioritize impact over accuracy. If you can move a crowd, if you can command respect, if you can express your soul with 10 broken words, you are more fluent than the man who can write a perfect essay but can't look a stranger in the eye. The system wants you to be a safe consumer. It wants you to buy more courses, more books, more apps. It wants you to stay in the loop of learning so you never reach the stage of doing. Because once you start doing, you don't need the system anymore. You become unstoppable. You become a threat to the status quo. You become an oasis warrior. This is the raw, brutal truth. Your teacher didn't teach you English. They taught you how to be an English student. There is a massive difference. A student is a consumer. A practitioner is a producer. A student waits for permission. A warrior seizes the moment. A student fears the red pen. A warrior bleeds on the battlefield and calls it progress. You have been a student for long enough. Your apprenticeship in the desert is over. It is time for your coup d'état. It is time to burn the rules and find the rhythm. It is time to stop studying and start inhabiting. Ask yourself, if you were stripped of every grammar rule you ever learned, but you kept your passion and your why, would you still be able to communicate? Yes. You would use your hands. You would use your eyes. You would use the raw power of your intent. That is the Oasis essence. That is where true fluency lives. It doesn't live in a book. It lives in your gut. It lives in your courage. The 1% have realized that the prison of rules only has one bar: your own belief in its power. Step through it. The door is open. The teacher is gone. The world is waiting for your raw, broken, powerful voice. This is the paradigm shift. We are moving from the slave to the rule, to the master of the moment. We are trading correctness for command. We are leaving the desert of academic failure and entering the oasis of visceral success. It will be messy. It will be loud. It will be embarrassing. And it will be the most liberating thing you have ever done. Your legacy isn't written in a grammar exercise. It is written in the lives you touch with your voice. Are you ready to stop being correct and start being heard? If you are ready to execute the teacher in your head and reclaim your voice, type "Beyond Rules" in the comments. Let the 99% stay in their classrooms. We are moving toward the oasis. I am watching to see who has the courage to be proudly broken. Part 1. The contextual imprint. The end of translation. Listen to the rhythm of my voice. I am not using a grammar book to speak to you. I am using contextual imprints. The 99% try to build a sentence like a Lego set, one block at a time. They find a subject. They search for a verb tense. They attach an object. By the time they finish the construction, the conversation has moved on. They are left standing alone in the desert with a pile of plastic bricks. The 1% don't build sentences. They release chunks of power. They don't see words. They see situational melodies. This is the first pillar of the oasis, the contextual imprint. You must stop learning what a word means and start feeling where a word lives. Think about your native language. When you want to say, "How are you?" do you think about the grammar? Do you calculate the auxiliary verb? No. The entire phrase comes out as one single vibration. It is an imprint. The 1% treat all of English this way. They don't learn the present perfect. They learn the feeling of experience. They don't study conditional sentences. They learn the sound of regret. They find a phrase that a native speaker uses in a specific emotional state, and they imprint it into their nervous system. They swallow the whole phrase, raw and undivided. They don't perform an autopsy on it. They let it live inside them. How do you do this? You must practice emotional shadowing. When you hear a phrase in a movie or a podcast, don't just repeat the words. Repeat the intent. If the character is frustrated, scream the phrase. If they are whispering a secret, feel the tension in your throat. You are telling your brain that this string of sounds is tied to this specific feeling. You are bypassing the grammar filter entirely. You are creating a direct line from your heart to your mouth. This is how you kill translation. Translation is the middleman that steals your time. The 1% have fired the middleman. They have achieved direct communication. The second pillar is the 70 over 30 output rule. The 99% spend 90% of their time consuming, reading, watching, listening, and only 10% speaking. They are input slaves. They have massive heads full of rules and tiny mouths that can't move. In the Oasis, we flip the script. You must spend 70% of your time in active output. Even if you have zero vocabulary, even if your grammar is proudly broken, you must force your brain to find a way to express an idea. This is neural foraging. When you struggle to find a word, your brain creates a vacuum of need. When you finally find that word later, your brain will suck it in and never let it go. Without the struggle, there is no retention. Without the output, there is no oasis. The third pillar is the structural reflex. Instead of studying 50 grammar rules, the 1% master 5 power patterns. These are the structural skeletons that carry 80% of the language. They drill these patterns until they are as natural as walking. They don't know the pattern. They are the pattern. They use substitution drills at high speed. I have been working. I have been running. I have been fighting. They change one word while keeping the rhythm identical. They do this until the structure becomes a physical sensation in their jaw. They are building a reflexive core. Once the core is strong, the correct grammar happens automatically, without a single thought. The rules don't guide the warrior. The warrior's body remembers the rules. Look at your grammar shame. It is a ghost. It has no power unless you give it your attention. The 1% have a warrior's disdain for being correct. They would rather be effective. They know that if they speak with enough silent power, the world will adjust to them. Have you ever noticed that powerful people often have the most broken English? It's because they don't care. They have moved past the student phase into the dominance phase. They use the language to get what they want, not to win a gold star from a teacher who is still stuck in the desert. Are you a student seeking a star? Or are you a warrior seeking a kingdom? Your teacher told you that grammar is the foundation. They were wrong. Acoustic immersion is the foundation. Physical repetition is the foundation. Obsession is the foundation. Grammar is just the architecture that appears after the building is already standing. You cannot build a house by starting with the roof. You must start with the ground, the raw, dirty, visceral ground of speaking. Stop waiting for your grammar to be ready. It will never be ready in a vacuum. It only becomes ready in the heat of the battle. It only becomes smooth after it has been rough for a long time. This is the system of the 1%. It is a linguistic coup d'etat. We are reclaiming our minds from the academic prison. We are returning to our biological roots. We are prioritizing the music over the math. If you follow these 3 pillars, your fluency will not grow. It will explode. You will find yourself saying things you didn't know you knew. You will find the words appearing in your mouth before your brain has time to doubt them. This is the silent power of the Oasis. This is what it feels like to be truly free. We have the pillars. We have the instinct. But there is a final neural blockage that stops even the strongest warriors. It is the fear of the blank space, that moment when you have no words at all. In part 2, I will show you the bypass technique that the 1% use to keep speaking even when their vocabulary fails. Are you ready to become unstoppable? Part 2. The vocabulary bypass. Mastering the art of circumlocution. Listen to the sound of your own panic. It happens every time. You are speaking, you are moving, and suddenly, a wall. You forget a word, a simple noun, a specific verb. Your brain freezes. Your heart skips. You look at the ground. You say, "Sorry, my English is bad." In that moment, you have just surrendered to the desert. You have let a single missing word take away your silent power. The 99% believe that vocabulary is a library you must memorize. The 1% know that vocabulary is a jungle you must navigate. They don't need the exact word to be exactly heard. They use the vocabulary bypass. They have mastered the art of circumlocution, the ability to talk around what they don't know until they get what they want. Your teacher taught you to be a dictionary slave. They gave you lists of synonyms and told you to find the perfect match. That is a lie. There is no perfect match. There is only effective communication. If you don't know the word for refrigerator, you don't stop talking. You say, "The cold box in the kitchen." If you don't know the word for negotiate, you say, "We talk to find a price we both like." The 1% are not smarter. They are just more resilient. They realize that English is a set of Lego bricks. If you don't have the blue square, you use 2 red rectangles. The result is the same. The house gets built. The bypass is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate sign of fluency. It proves that your brain is faster than your memory. How do you build this bypass muscle? You must practice description drills. Take a random object in your room. Now, describe it without using its name. Talk about its shape, its function, its feeling, its why. Do this for 60 seconds. Your brain will scream for the easy word. Do not give it. Force your neural pathways to find an alternative route. This is neuroplasticity in action. You are training your mind to be a river. If it hits a rock, it doesn't stop. It flows around it. The 99% are like static ponds. The moment they hit a drought of words, they dry up. The oasis warrior is a flood. Nothing can stop their momentum. The second technique is the concept bridge. Every complex word is just a combination of simple concepts. Philanthropy is just giving money to help people. Procrastination is just waiting because you are afraid. The 1% don't get intimidated by big words because they see the simple skeleton underneath. When you forget a big word, go back to the skeleton. Use the child's vocabulary to express adult ideas. This is the secret of silent power. Some of the most influential leaders in history used the simplest language. They didn't use big words to sound smart. They used simple words to be unforgettable. Complexity is often a mask for insecurity. Simplicity is the hallmark of the master. Look at your fluency anxiety. It comes from the belief that if you don't use the right word, you look stupid. This is the ego trap. The 1% have performed a coup d'etat on their own ego. They would rather look stupid for 10 seconds and finish the conversation than look perfect and say nothing. They know that the person listening to them doesn't care about their vocabulary. They care about the value they are providing. If you are solving a problem, if you are telling a joke, if you are leading a team, no one cares if you said cold box instead of refrigerator. They only care that the water is cold. Stop being a vocabulary snob to yourself. It is a form of self-sabotage. The bypass requires rhythmic confidence. When you hit a blank space, do not change your tone. Do not look down. Do not apologize. Keep the warrior's resonance in your voice. Use filler power. Use, well, you know, how should I put this? These are not signs of hesitation. They are strategic pauses. They give your brain 3 seconds to find the bridge. The 1% use these pauses to maintain their presence. They inhabit the silence. While the 99% are panicking, the warrior is calmly searching for the next chunk of power. They own the silence. So they own the room. This is the 1% obsession with output density. It doesn't matter how many words you know. It matters how many ideas you can deliver. You could know 20 000 words and be silent in a crisis. Or you could know 2 000 words and be the king of the oasis. The bypass is the tool that turns a small vocabulary into a massive legacy. It is the difference between being a library and being a speaker. A library is full of knowledge, but it cannot move. A speaker is full of intent, and they can change the world. Which one are you? Your teacher lied when they said, learn more words to be fluent. I am telling you, use the words you have to be unstoppable. Fluency is not the size of your toolbox. It is your skill with the hammer. If all you have is a hammer, learn to build a cathedral with it. Stop waiting for the perfect tool. The bypass is your weapon. Use it to cut through the fear. Use it to bridge the gaps. Use it to reach the oasis. The desert is full of people who knew the right words but never had the courage to say them. Don't be one of them. We have the pillars. We have the bypass. But there is one final trap of the mind that creates a linguistic black hole. It is the comparison virus, the habit of looking at others and feeling small. In part 3, I will show you how to build a warrior's ego that is immune to judgment. Are you ready to become unbreakable? Part 3, the warrior's ego becoming immune to judgment. Look at the people around you. When you open your mouth to speak English, you are not just fighting a language. You are fighting their eyes. You are fighting the social desert. The 99% are waiting for you to trip. They are waiting for that incorrect verb or that strange accent so they can feel superior in their own silence. Your teacher taught you to be polite. They taught you to wait your turn. They taught you to apologize for your existence. In the Oasis, we don't apologize. We perform a coup d'état on their expectations. We build a warrior's ego, a psychological armor so thick that the arrows of judgment shatter before they even touch our skin. The first layer of this armor is strategic arrogance. Now, listen closely. I am not talking about being a jerk. I am talking about the internal certainty that your message is more important than your mistakes. The 1% have realized that the world doesn't belong to the correct. It belongs to the bold. When they speak broken English, they do it with the posture of a king. They look you in the eye. They don't flinch. They don't look for approval. They understand that if they don't value their own voice, no one else will. Your grammar shame is a signal of low status. The warrior's ego is a signal of dominance. Which signal are you sending right now? The second layer is the mirror execution. You are your own worst critic. The voice in your head is louder than any crowd. To become immune to judgment, you must first kill the judge inside yourself. I want you to go to the mirror and speak. Make the biggest, ugliest mistakes you can find. I is go to store. He do not like. Say it out loud. Feel the discomfort. Now, look at your reflection. Did you die? Did the world end? No. You are still there. You are still breathing. You have survived the imaginary catastrophe. The 1% have done this so many times that they are bored of being embarrassed. They have traded their face for freedom. They have no image to protect, so they have nothing to lose. The third layer is contextual dominance. Most of you feel small when you speak English because you feel like a guest in someone else's language. This is a slave mindset. The 1% treat English like linguistic territory they have just conquered. It doesn't matter if they weren't born in London or New York. The moment they use a word, they own it. They don't ask for permission to use the language. They seize it. If a native speaker doesn't understand them, they don't think, my English is bad. They think, this person needs to listen better. This shift in psychological ownership changes everything. It changes your breath. It changes your pitch. It changes the way people respond to you. In the Oasis, the language serves the warrior, not the other way around. Why does the warrior's ego work? Because of neural feedback. When you speak with confidence, even with errors, your brain releases dopamine. It feels like a win. Your nervous system relaxes. And when you are relaxed, your vocabulary bypass works faster. Your contextual imprints flow smoother. By faking the ego, you are actually creating the biological conditions for real fluency. The 99% are trapped in a stress loop. They worry. They tighten up, they fail, and then they worry more. They are drowning in their own cortisol. The Oasis warrior uses confidence as a chemical weapon to force their brain into a state of flow. Look at your social circle. Are they feeding your armor, or are they picking at your wounds? The 1% aggressively prune their relationships. They don't have time for grammar snobs or quiet critics. They surround themselves with other warriors who value impact over accuracy. If you stay in the desert with people who laugh at your accent, you will never reach the oasis. You will stay small to keep them comfortable. The warrior's ego requires you to be willing to be misunderstood by the mediocre so you can be admired by the elite. It is a lonely choice, but it is the only choice that leads to power. This is the silent power of the 1%. They have realized that fluency is 20% mechanics and 80% psychology. Your teacher lied when they said you needed more study. You need more spirit. You need to stop being a good student and start being a high-value human. Your English is a reflection of your inner identity. If you feel like a slave, your English will sound like a slave. If you feel like a master, even your broken words will sound like commandments. The oasis is not a place for the perfect. It is a place for the powerful. The coup d'etat is complete. You have the pillars. You have the bypass. Now you have the armor. You are no longer a linguistic victim. You are an oasis warrior. The rules are dead. The teacher is gone. The critics are silent. There is nothing left between you and the world but your own will. The warrior's ego is not about being better than others. It is about being bigger than your own fear. It is about deciding that your legacy is worth the price of being ugly for a while. Are you ready to claim your kingdom? The system is done. The warrior is armed. But there is one final emotional ghost that haunts the transition. It is the grief of the old self, the person you used to be. In the final outro, I will show you how to say goodbye to the slave and step fully into the light of the oasis. Are you ready for the end? Listen to the silence that follows the death of your rules. In this moment, you are standing at the edge of a great abyss. On one side is the classroom, the red pen, and the teacher who told you that you weren't ready. On the other side is the oasis, a world where your voice has weight, where your mistakes are your scars of honor, and where your English is a weapon of pure intent. To cross this abyss, you must do the hardest thing a human being can do. You must let your old self die. You must mourn the student who spent years seeking approval, only to find a prison of silence. That person is gone. Let the desert wind carry their ashes away. Your teacher lied to you because they were afraid of your raw power. They wanted to organize you, to categorize you, to make you safe. But you were never meant to be safe. You were meant to be unstoppable. Think about the thousands of hours you wasted worrying about a preposition while your life's greatest opportunities passed you by. Feel that regret. Let it burn in your chest like a brand. That pain is the price of your linguistic rebirth. The 1% are not those who never failed. They are those who were brave enough to be ugly until they became legendary. They traded the comfort of being correct for the glory of being heard. Imagine the warrior you are becoming. Imagine walking into a room and speaking, not from a textbook, but from your soul. Imagine the silent power of not caring if they judge your grammar, because you know they cannot ignore your present. That is the oasis. It is not a place of perfect English. It is a place of perfect confidence. It is the realization that your why is bigger than any rule. Your legacy is not found in a grammar exercise. It is found in the connection you make with another human being. It is found in the deals you close, the hearts you move, and the truth you speak. This is the coup d'état of the heart. The slave is dead. The warrior is breathing. From this moment on, every time you open your mouth, you are not practicing. You are colonizing. You are taking back the territory that the desert stole from you. You are reclaiming your right to be seen and heard in a global language. Do not look back at the classroom. Do not look back at the red pen. Look forward to the horizon. The oasis is not a destination. It is the way you stand, the way you breathe, and the way you refuse to be silent ever again. Welcome to the oasis. Your voice is finally yours. If you have officially executed the student inside you, subscribe to the English Oasis. We do not teach rules here. We build warriors. Type "born again" in the comments to seal your new identity. I am watching. The desert is behind you. The oasis is yours to command.